What we are learning from the Pentagon is this happened on Sunday. Word just coming now. A U.S. patrol craft, the USS Firebolt, was in the Persian Gulf when it was essentially swarmed, if you will, by 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guard small boats.
I'm in Erbil, Iraq, as this conflict with Iran expands across this region. We are now in the 5th day of this war, and with each day it spreads wider and deeper across the region.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has been telling reporters that an armada of U.S. Navy vessels is heading towards Iran. The revelation comes as the
world's most dangerous choke point is heating up again. As U.S. warships converge near Iran's shores, Tehran is signaling it won't fight fair or loud. Its answer is stealth, speed, and swarm warfare.
Dawn breaks over the Strait of Hormuz. The water is still. The air is cool. In the distance, the silhouette of a United States naval battle group cuts the horizon like a steel wall, deliberate, massive, unmovable. 12 vessels. Thousands of sailors. The most concentrated projection of American naval power in the region in over a decade. Then the radar screen changes. Not one contact. Not 5. 47 fast-moving surface signatures emerging from Iran's coastal shallows at 4:17 local time, spreading outward like a crescent of teeth and closing fast. 8 minutes later, everything has changed. This is what happened. To understand what unfolds in those 8 minutes, you need to understand the geography. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. 21 miles. The distance you could drive in roughly 20 minutes on an American highway. But in naval terms, it's a choke point, one of the most strategically significant waterways on the planet, through which nearly 20% of the world's oil supply flows every single day. Imagine you're standing on the bridge of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the flagship of Carrier Strike Group 12. It's a floating city, 337 meters long, a flight deck the size of several football fields, carrying over 70 aircraft and more than 5,000 personnel. Around you, a protective formation has been running standard patrol operations for 11 days. The guided missile cruiser USS Letter Gulf holds position off your port bow. 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers fan out in overlapping radar coverage. 2 Los Angeles-class attack submarines run silent and invisible beneath the surface. A combat logistics force vessel trails at distance. This strike group represents the doctrine of deterrence made physical. A statement written in steel and aviation fuel that says, this corridor stays open, this water stays free, and this region remains stabilized. Current tensions have made this deployment anything but routine. In the weeks prior, there have been 3 separate incidents of Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps naval vessels conducting what American commanders classify as unsafe and unprofessional maneuvers against coalition shipping. Twice in the previous month, IRGCN fast attack craft executed high-speed simulated attack runs against commercial tankers before breaking off. The diplomatic temperature between Washington and Tehran has been running at a sustained boil. Nobody aboard the Ford is sleeping easily. But nobody expected this. 40 kilometers north, at a hardened coastal naval installation whose location satellite imagery has flagged for 18 months, the operation had been in motion since 2 o'clock. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy has spent years developing what military analysts call an asymmetric swarm doctrine. The underlying logic is brutally simple. You don't beat the United States Navy by matching it ship for ship. You don't engage Arleigh Burke destroyers in a conventional exchange. You overwhelm them. You use numbers, speed, and chaos to saturate defensive systems beyond their design capacity. A single Patriot battery can track and engage a finite number of simultaneous targets. A ship's CIWS has a maximum cyclic rate. Every defensive system has a ceiling, and if you throw enough at it fast enough, so the theory goes, something gets through. The force assembled on the Iranian coastline that morning represents the most ambitious execution of that doctrine ever attempted. 47 Seraj and Zolfahar-class fast attack craft. Heavily armed. Loaded with C-802 antiship missiles and rocket pods. Each vessel capable of exceeding 50 knots in calm water, crewed by 3 to 5 operators trained specifically for suicide speed attack profiles. Additionally, 12 aerial drones, modified Shard 136 variants, have been pre-positioned to launch simultaneously, designed to peel off the attention of defensive radar systems in the critical opening seconds. The Iranian operational planners believe they have identified a window. Pre-dawn. The American formation running routine patrol protocols. Watch rotations at their most fatigued hour. The theory is that if they can close the distance fast enough, the geometry of the strait itself, the narrow water, the shallow angles, the cluttered coastal radar environment, will degrade American response time sufficiently that the sheer volume of inbound contacts overwhelms the engagement queue. They've wargamed this scenario. They believe in the math. They are about to learn that the math never accounted for what was already watching them. Here's what they got wrong. Every element of that plan, the pre-dawn timing, the swarm geometry, the coastal radar clutter, was built on a single assumption: that the Americans would detect them late. That the first warning would come from the Ford's own ship-based SPY-6 radar, giving perhaps 4 or 5 minutes of reaction time before the fast attack craft closed to weapons release range. That assumption was wrong by approximately 94 minutes. The E-8C Joint Stars aircraft maintaining high-altitude surveillance had been tracking unusual vehicle and vessel movement patterns at the coastal installation since 2/23. An MQ-9 Reaper drone operating at 60,000 feet, invisible and silent, had been feeding continuous electro-optical imagery of the facility since 2:41. At 3:31, 46 minutes before the Iranian fleet even departed the dock, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency flagged the movement pattern as a high-priority hostile action indicator and pushed the assessment through secure channels. By 3:55, Carrier Strike Group 12 was already quietly transitioning to condition-modified alert. Flight deck crews had begun pre-flight sequences on F/A-18 Super Hornets and F-35C Lightning IIS. The submarine USS Cheyenne had received new positioning orders and was already repositioning. Combat systems operators aboard the Letta Gulf were cross-checking target track files. The Iranians launched their swarm into waters that had already decided their fate. 4 hours 17 minutes and 23 seconds. The moment the first Iranian vessel clears the coastal breakwater and accelerates to attack speed, 4 separate sensor systems record the event simultaneously. You're in the Combat Information Center aboard the Letta Gulf right now. Red emergency lighting. Screens alive with moving contact icons. A petty officer second class calls out track confirmations in a voice trained to stay level even when every instinct is screaming. 40 contacts. 42. 45. Sir, I'm holding 47 surface contacts. Bearing 035, range 41 kilometers. Speed 51 knots. They're coming straight in. The commanding officer doesn't hesitate. The word has been pre-positioned in his mind for 11 days. General quarters. General quarters. All hands man. Your battle stations. The sound of the alarm crosses the water. Aboard every vessel in the formation, 5,000 men and women move with the urgency of people who have trained for exactly this moment. The Ford begins launching aircraft. Already prepped F-35CS lift from the deck on combat intercept vectors. P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft already airborne begin refining track data. 2E divided by a -18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft climb to position, their jamming pods ready to blind Iranian targeting systems. Simultaneously, 12 aerial drone contacts appear on radar, climbing from coastal launch points and fanning outward. The automated track classification system aboard the Aegis-equipped destroyers assigns threat priority codes within 1.3 seconds of detection. The system has already begun its engagement solution calculations before any human operator presses a single button. 4 minutes and 11 seconds. That is the time from first radar contact to full battle-ready status across the entire strike group. Could you get from your couch to your car, start the engine, and back out of the driveway in 4 minutes 11 seconds? These sailors did the equivalent of spinning up a small city's worth of combat power in that same window. The first wave of Iranian drones never reaches radar effective range. At 4:22, the 2E divided by a -18G Growlers initiate a coordinated electronic warfare package, flooding the frequency bands the Shard 136 variants rely on for their basic navigation and targeting correlation. 7 of the 12 drones immediately begin flying erratic courses. 3 lose coherent flight paths entirely and descend into the water. 2 continue onward, and are engaged by RIM-162 ESSM missiles fired from the USS Ramage, detonating at a range of 14 kilometers. Clean kills. First wave of the air threat, neutralized. The surface swarm keeps coming. 47 fast attack craft spread across a 12-kilometer front. The radar picture looks like someone threw a handful of gravel at a screen. The Iranian doctrine is working, partially. The sheer number of contacts is demanding and taxing the engagement queue prioritization software aboard every vessel simultaneously. But the Aegis combat system wasn't designed for yesterday's threats. The baseline 10 iteration running on the Letta Gulf can simultaneously track over 1,000 contacts and engage multiple threats across surface, subsurface, and air domains without breaking stride. The system begins assigning SM-2 standard missiles to surface targets at 4:24. The first salvo, 8 missiles in rapid succession, the deck of the Letta Gulf hidden briefly in fire and smoke. 8 Iranian fast attack craft are struck within the next 90 seconds. At 50 knots, a boat that loses propulsion and control in a dense formation becomes a danger to every vessel around it. The Iranian swarm begins losing geometric cohesion. 3 craft collide attempting evasive maneuvers. 2 more are taken by the second SM-2 salvo. Now the F-35CS arrive. You're in that cockpit right now, heads-up display painting threat vectors across the windscreen. The targeting computer already running weapons release solutions on 17 separate surface contacts. The F-35CSAN APG-81 AESA radar can distinguish individual fast attack craft in the clutter of the strait with a clarity that the Iranian planners never factored into their model. The aircraft doesn't just see them. It sees their speed, their heading change rates, their weapon system states. The pilot's thumb moves on the weapons release button. AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles separate from the aircraft. Below, the water erupts in columns of fire and smoke as Iranian craft are struck in sequence. 2 aircraft, then 3, then 6 F-35CS and 4 Super Hornets cycling through the engagement area. Each running independent targeting solutions, none of them in each other's way because the Link 16 data network has deconflicted every weapons release to the meter. Craft by craft, the swarm is being dismantled. At 4:29, 12 minutes into the engagement, the Iranian attack force has been reduced from 47 vessels to 19. Those 19 are now scattered, out of formation, and critically, none of them have successfully launched their C-802 missiles at the fort. The few C-802 attempts that were fired in desperation before the launch platforms were destroyed were detected immediately, engaged by a combination of C-ram point defense systems and close-in weapon systems aboard the carrier's escort vessels. One C-802 reaches within 800 meters of the USS Ramage before the 20mm Phalanx CIWS cuts it apart. 800 meters. Less than the length of 8 football fields. Close enough that sailors on the Ramage deck would later say they heard it. At 4:33, the last cohesive Iranian surface element, 4 fast attack craft still running in a degraded formation, are engaged by an F divided by a -18E Super Hornet with Mk-82 precision-guided munitions. The swarm is over. The engagement itself took 8 minutes and 40 seconds from first contact to last confirmed threat elimination. But what follows takes considerably longer, and is considerably more consequential. What they didn't account for was the doctrine of overwhelming response that governs American naval operations in exactly this scenario. An attack on United States naval vessels in international waters is not answered with proportional tit-for-tat exchanges. It triggers a pre-authorized response package, a ladder of escalating options that, once the first rung is seized, climbs with mechanical certainty. Within 17 minutes of the engagement's conclusion, 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers, the USS Ross and the USS Stout, begin firing Tomahawk land attack missiles in pre-planned strike packages. B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, which have been holding at altitude over the Indian Ocean on alert posture, receive authorization and begin their attack runs. Los Angeles-class submarines rise to weapons launch depth. The targets are not random. They are systematically selected from a pre-existing strike list assembled by Central Command planners and updated continuously. The IRGCN coastal installation that launched the swarm struck. The hardened facility housing the C-802 production and storage infrastructure on the northern coast struck. The 3 fast attack craft pens at Bandar Abbas Naval Station struck. The radar installation at Kesham Island that supported the attack's coordination struck. Not a warning, not a message. A systematic erasure of the capability that enabled the morning's attack and any future repetition of it. 47 Tomahawks. 14 precision-guided bombs from B-2 strike packages. Coordinated. Sequenced. Simultaneous arrivals at multiple target sets designed to prevent any single facility from warning another. In 62 minutes, every priority target on that strike list has been assessed as destroyed or rendered non-operational. The strike group never moves from its operational position. It doesn't need to. Step back now and look at the full picture. Iranian attack force, 47 fast attack craft, 12 drones, dozens of C-802 missiles. American losses, 0 vessels, 0 aircraft. 2 sailors aboard the USS Ramage treated for non-critical injuries from debris from the intercepted missile. The ship's exterior shows cosmetic damage. Iranian losses, the near-complete annihilation of the IRGCN Swarm Doctrine's primary execution force, along with the coastal infrastructure that supports it. Not just the boats. The doctrine itself. The entire engagement, from first radar contact to the final Tomahawk impact at the last designated target, lasted 62 minutes and 18 seconds. Less time than a standard feature film. Less time than most people spend on their morning commute. And when it was over, the Strait of Hormuz remained open. The tankers kept moving. The Gerald R. Ford continued its patrol. Here is the strategic reality that this scenario illustrates. The Iranian asymmetric swarm doctrine is a genuinely sophisticated concept. The underlying logic, overwhelm defensive queuing with numbers and speed, is not naive. Against a less advanced adversary, against a smaller task force with older systems, against a defensive setup without layered integration from satellite to aircraft to ship to submarine, the math might have worked differently. But the United States Navy does not exist in the gap between Iranian planning assumptions and Iranian planning reality. It exists in the gap between what an adversary believes it can do and what the actual integrated defense network permits. The Aegis combat system, the F-35CS sensor fusion, the E divided by a -18G electronic warfare capability, the prepositioned submarine threat, the real-time data linking every platform into a single adaptive tactical picture. These are not separate weapons. They are nodes in a system that compounds its advantages in real time, faster than any human command structure can adapt to it. Every missile the Iranian force fired met something already waiting for it. Every fast attack craft that accelerated toward the formation had already been assigned an engagement solution before it pulled away from the dock. That is not luck. That is the result of decades of investment, doctrine development, and training. And it is the reason that swarm attacks against integrated naval battle groups have, in every serious operational analysis, concluded the same way. The question that should make every strategic analyst pause isn't whether this outcome was realistic. It's whether the gap between capability and perception on the Iranian side was itself a product of rational calculation, political pressure overriding military judgment, or something far more dangerous, genuine belief in a doctrine that battlefield reality has never actually validated at this scale. Which decision in this scenario do you think was most critical? The American prepositioning before the attack, the electronic warfare execution in the opening seconds, or the speed of the response package that followed? I want to hear your analysis in the comments below. And if you want more tactical deep dives like this, real systems, real doctrine, real strategic analysis wrapped in scenarios that make you feel every second of the engagement, hit subscribe. This channel breaks down what modern military power actually looks like, beyond the headlines and the talking points. See you in the next one.